me a bit about your history. What did you do before you retired?
Well, I was born in Leicester, an only child. My father was an officer in the RAF. I never married and I have no children. Early on in my career, I lectured at Oxford and Cambridge, and later on, I worked at the University of Exeter as an emeritus professor. I specialised in English medieval studies and ancient Christian manuscripts.
Oh, so you're a Christian?
Oh, good grief, no. I don't subscribe to any organised religion, but I am especially fascinated by the form and aesthetics of Christian iconography and what those forms can teach us about humanity.
Do you practice any form of spirituality?
Yes, I observe the solstices. Did you know that the winter solstice was the inspiration for all the light festivals of midwinter? Christmas, Hanukkah, Diwali? It's a symbolic celebration of the death and birth of the sun.
No, I didn't know that. So how do you normally celebrate the winter solstice?
I make some wassail and I take a lantern and I go to the orchard at the bottom of my garden. I light a fire and I sit under my favourite apple tree and set my intentions for the year. Last year, I pondered just like the Earth is at the maximum tilt from the sun, my body was at its maximum distance from the health and vitality I'd once known. And I realised that the burdens of living had exceeded the joys of being alive. Actually, I made my decision that night. Just before the festive break, it was my gift to myself.
I see. So, what do you like to do in your spare time, Avril?
Well, I used to enjoy pottery, but my arms are too painful now. The last time I tried to throw a pot, I ended up throwing it across the studio. But there are plenty of examples of my work around the house.
They're beautiful.
Thank you.
I can see these health conditions are affecting your quality of life. What would you say is the worst thing about living with these illnesses?
The pain is particularly dreadful at night, and I have to wear an oxygen mask. My breathing is so bad. As I lie immersed in agony, I am destined to endure the excruciating torment without respite. All I have to look forward to is an oppressive abundance of time. I am revolted by my body and its leaking orifices.
I'm very sorry to hear that, Avril. What do family members think of what you're doing?
Well, if my father were alive, he would disown me. But he died a long time ago, as did my mother. Even my cats have departed this mortal coil. No, I have no family left, really. I have a few cousins, but I hardly ever see them.
Have you told anybody else?
Heavens, yes. These last few months I could talk the leg off a table. I think it's best to tell people to save them from distress. I've explained to everybody that this is a perfectly rational decision and not one that I have taken lightly. After all, I have been planning this for over a year.
Can you talk me through what's happened over the past few days? The police raid last Friday?
Yes. At 9:15 there was a terrible commotion at the door. Glass shattering, men shouting. I nearly jumped down to my skin.
So they smashed your door and forced entry?
Yes. Before they came in through the desecrated door, they said they'd rung the doorbell. They hadn't. I'm sure of it. I'm deaf, but I'm not that deaf.
What did the police officers say to you?
Well, they said they'd been tipped off by Interpol in Manchester and that they knew I'd purchased illegal drugs from Mexico, and they said to hand over the drugs. So I did. And then we all had to sit around waiting for the psychiatrist to complete a mental health assessment.
What happened with the psychiatrist?
Well, I told him about the inoperable spinal decay, the bowel incontinence, the urinary tract infections, the burning feet, the rotator cuff tears, and the cardiac issues. He asked if I'd ever been mentally ill or depressed. I said I hadn't, except for when my father died, but that was likely just grief. You can't really count that. I showed him the nappies and the oxygen mask and a letter from my friend. She'd signed the card Bon Voyage, as if I was going on some romantic excursion. I thought that was a nice touch. Anyway, The psychiatrist concluded that I was of sound mind. There was no indication of any mental health issues. He couldn't section me under the Mental Health Act, and there was no depression. And so they all left. Through the broken door.
Are you concerned that you broke the law?
The law is an ass. It is cruel and illogical. In doing this, I am making a stand against the law. So no, I have no regrets and I'm not ashamed.
Avril, can you explain precisely why you're planning to end your life?
I've had a long and productive life, but I'm declining daily. Everything is now a painful struggle. I'm not the same person I used to be. My personality has changed. I'm angry and cantankerous all the time, and I have a persistent sense of dread. Yes, I've become very unsociable.
I see. You said in your email you were intending to end your life in the bath. Why the bath?
Oh, because I don't want to make a mess. And if I do make a mess, the bathtub is so much easier to clean than the carpets or the bedding, don't you think?
Yes, I suppose it is. Can you tell me how you managed to get hold of the drugs?
Exit International helped with that. They helped me source the Nembutal, also known as sodium pentobarbital. It's the same drug they use in Switzerland. It's said to be quick and painless.
Avril, some people believe that legalising assisted suicide could open the door to non-voluntary euthanasia by giving doctors the power to decide when a patient's life is not worth living. And people who are dependent on others may feel that they have a duty to end their life if the option is there. Do you understand these points of view?
Those are valid arguments, of course, but mine is a clear case of rational suicide. All I'm asking for is the chance to be left alone to get on with it. As it is, the authorities seem totally intent on making my last days on earth a complete misery.
But haven't the authorities succeeded in their objective? They've prevented you from taking your own life, at least for now, by confiscating the drugs.
Excuse me. Hello? Yes. Yes! Now will you kindly please leave me alone and call the dogs off? That was my doctor's receptionist. It seems the police have been in touch with her and she was asking whether I intend to take my own life this evening.
Why would she ask you that, do you think?
Well, I called the phone company earlier and I told them I was planning to die at 7 p.m, but I asked them to keep the line open to give my lawyer time to make all the necessary arrangements. Perhaps that person phoned the police.
You're planning to do it this evening? But how? They've taken the drugs away.
Come, I'll show you. I managed to conceal half of my supply. Split the batch in half, just in case anybody came knocking. Good job I did. Now, if you don't mind, I'd like to be alone. Well, thank you for coming. I wish you well with your thesis and I hope today's been useful.
Yes, very useful, thank you. It's been an honour and a privilege to share this time with you. Can I just ask, what will you do in the 2 hours you have left?
Well, I don't think I can face taking the last look at the garden or my pottery studio. No, I think I shall have a final meal, a last supper. I've got a frozen meal, ready meal in the freezer. No point in creating any washing up, is there?
How do you think you'll feel when the time comes? Do you think you'll be afraid?
I will try to feel as little as possible. How can I be scared if I don't exist? Simple logic. All I hope for is oblivion, complete and utter nothingness.